Hi, my name is Joko McKenna, and I'm an Ielts tutor and English teacher and administrator at a couple of different schools. But what I like to do in my spare time, there's not a lot of that, is to provide feedback to people on their individual essays, sort of randomly. If they tag me in the tips and tricks group, I'm more likely to do it, and try to expand the lessons that can be learned by the individual for their essay into something that more people can benefit from. So essay is not yours, but a good percentage of you are making these same types of mistakes. Now, one thing about mistakes is that there are some that you can fix in the short term and some you can't. What an IELTS tutor like me can't do is do a whole lot for your grammar and vocabulary. Those aspects, which are half of your band score, are things that require a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of study. It can be made easier these days with a lot of applications and such, but it's something that you bring to this equation already. It's your English ability. However, your task response part, if say task 2 of the IELTS writing task, and your cohesion and coherence is the other half of your score, and that is something that can be learned in a relatively short period of time compared to the other two. And here in this essay, we find an example of one of the two words in task response, okay? Response, not being that the person is responding to a question that they want to answer, as opposed to the question that is written in the question, okay? That's why the title, write the essay you're asked to, not the essay you want to. And what is it you're being asked to do? Well, you need to learn the different types of IELTS essay questions. And in this instance, we have one of the, I guess I've never seen a distribution of how often, let's see here, it doesn't work. Oh, that doesn't work anyway with this. I've never seen a distribution of how often these come up, but the opinion essay is something that comes up quite a bit. Now, here is the essay the person wrote as a whole. Okay, just put that there for reference. And here's the question. So the first thing you want to do is analyze this question. Okay? And you want to ask yourself some questions about the question. Underline the key words. Okay? Living in a country where you have to speak a foreign language can cause serious social problems as well as practical problems. Okay, this is the thesis. This is the thing. Right. To what extent do you agree or disagree with this statement? Oh, I was going to have these questions pop up one at a time, so I'm going to switch. So, living in a country where you have to speak foreign language, we did this. So, okay, how many parts are there to this question? It says in the band descriptors, addresses all parts of the question. How many parts are there? You're being asked to write what type of essay? I already gave you the answer to that. What is it exactly that you're being asked to agree or disagree with? Can you disagree with the premise that is to be taken as given? Now, in this question here, the premise is what you're being asked to agree or disagree with. Can you agree and disagree at the same time? All right. And then what's missing from the end of the question as it was presented online? All right, let's answer these questions. How many parts are there? Two parts. First, you need to address living in a country where you have to speak can cause serious social problems. That's the first thing. That's the first part. And you also have to address as well as practical problems. There are two parts to this question. You need to address both of them. You're being asked to write what's called an opinion essay. What is exactly you're being asked to agree or disagree with? Having to speak a foreign language can cause this is the key word, serious social problems. And it can cause practical problems too. Can you disagree with the premise? Well, in this case, that's what it's asking. And can you agree and disagree at the same time? Well, if you're good, yes. Most teachers would not recommend this, but you could agree with one part of the question and disagree with another. Certainly plausible to say that, yes, it can cause practical problems. It does. That's a given. Of course, it's going to cause some practical problems, but it doesn't really cause serious social problems. So there you're agreeing with one part and disagreeing with another. What's missing? This part, where at the end of every question, it always says, give reasons for your answers and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge and experience. That's at the end of every task too. So don't. Okay. All right. So now what I'll do with an essay is, first thing is after I've analyzed it, well, I mean, as a reviewer, I'll pop it into something called wordcounter.net. Now here, what I normally would have done at this point is 435 words. I would have stopped right there. 330 words, my normal, 360 words is my normal maximum for the amount of words that I will review an essay on. The maximum words an essay can have for me to review it. Why? Well, it's a lot of work. And secondly, look here, handwriting time. It would take a person 39 minutes and 35 seconds to write this by hand. So can you write it under 40 minutes? No, because you have to spend time analyzing the question, thinking about what you're going to write, revising, okay? It is not practical to write this much in the amount of time that you're given. Okay, unique words means how many of them are not repeated. Okay, 17 sentences, again, it's a bit long. One of the sentences has 57 words. I guarantee you it is not grammatically correct. 15 is the shortest sentence. Average sentence, 26. You want to keep this in the low 20s. The paragraphs, okay. Right, now have you repeated any language quite a bit? Language is used 9 times. There are other words for language. Country 8 times, lots of words for that. People, not so many words for that. This little X, it doesn't really mean anything. But this will tell you if you're repeating yourself far too much. Globalization, what does this have to do with that? All right, we'll find out. Okay, so here is our essay, what the person wrote. Okay. Okay, how's that? Is that better? Oh, that's better audio. All right, so yeah, I had a bit of an accident there. I broke something, but now I'm back. And so this is part 2. Life in a foreign country, with respect to interaction with others and other practical matters. Okay, interaction with others. Now, what is, as I mentioned in the first slide, in the previous slide, yeah, what is it we're being asked to agree or disagree with? So the question is, having to speak a foreign language can cause serious problems. Okay, serious problems. Now that is different than our simple everyday run-of-the-mill. What's it? Shelly tank. Okay. All right. It's different than interaction with others. Serious social problems. That's what's being asked. Okay, and other practical matters such as finding a job or opening a bank account. Okay, now that's practical matters. Okay, now could be challenging because with respect. Okay, however, I disagree with this notion. You just said it. Okay, life in a foreign country could be challenging, but I disagree. Who's saying this? Because learning a second language solves many of those potential issues. And due to globalization. What? What does the second part have to do with the question at all? Okay, so in this introduction, I don't really feel like you have demonstrated that you understand the question. Okay, there's nothing there about serious social problems. That's half of the question right there. And the question says, can cause. Well, that's not a very hard thing to disagree with. Can cause. Does it cause is different than can cause. And what's the difference between can be challenging and could be challenging? Well, we'll get to that. Body paragraph 1. Whoa, big. Okay, so in body paragraph 1, we're looking to express I think the best way to organize this would be, can it cause serious social problems? Can it by itself cause those problems? Right? Not knowing the language of the country. Now, it doesn't say not knowing the language of the country, does it? It says having to use. Okay? Where you have to speak a foreign language. You kind of have to know it in order to speak it, now don't you? So not knowing the language of the country. What country? Why the? One country, the country, oh, here it is. The country one might longing to live usually gives rise to problems related to socialization and settlement. Okay, serious social problems. You can't get a girlfriend. Okay, that's a serious social problem. You fight, you misunderstand your neighbors. You accidentally insult people. You get ripped off all the time. These are all things that can happen. Those are all serious. Not knowing the language. Okay. Now, other colors. Blue is coherence and cohesion. You make no attempt to use any type of connector to connect the end of the introduction to the beginning of the first body paragraph. This is something you should try to do. Okay, how did you end your introduction? You ended it with however, I disagree with them because learning a second language solves many of these potential issues and due to globalization. Okay, so you got two ideas here at the end of the paragraph, learning a second language. Is that what you want to start with? Or do you want to start with globalization? Well, let's start with learning a second language. You need, for the body paragraph, it could begin with that idea. But no, it doesn't. Not knowing the language of the country might not. All right, so is that our topic sentence? Let's find out. A person would feel like a fish out of water. Okay, green is grammar. One might longing to live. The language of the country where one might long to live. Well, wait a minute. You're already living there. Why would you long to live there? You already live there. Okay, a person feels like a fish out of water when he or she does not understand the language spoken around them. Okay? All right, is that our first serious social problem? Feeling like a fish out of water? First of all, don't use informal idioms like fish out of water. Okay, it's not academic. Okay, this was an issue in the past. But the way you've set it up is that you're using a second conditional construction, which means that you're talking about an unlikely situation in the present or the future. But instead, no, this was an issue in the past. And you should have said it that way. Not knowing the language of a country could have caused problems related to socialization. A person used to feel like, however, many of the language problem. Okay, we're not talking about language problems. We're talking about serious social problems. Can be tackled conveniently, not the right word, with the aid of cutting-edge technology. Having a great number of mobile applications and online platforms has made the acquisition of any language extremely easy. Oh, I think a lot of people on this board might disagree with you there. Extremely easy? Is it really? Easier. It's not extremely easy. Okay, if one knows the language of the place he or she lives, socialization and other possible problems don't use get. It's very informal. Get significantly reduced. The problems are reduced or even vanish. Well, it's good vocabulary, vanish. But that's a pretty big statement. Do you back it up? Now, many people who intend to live abroad tend to focus on, I know those are different words, but they sound so similar, it makes you stop. Tend to focus on learning the language of that country first. They didn't used to do that. You still have to speak that foreign language. Now, in fact, people who aspire to work or study in an English-speaking country, English is always capitalized, have to take and pass an English language test, such as the Ielts, TOEFL, OET. Not even before, but just before, they can apply for a visa or immigration process. You apply for an immigration process, you're missing a verb there. And they can apply for a visa. Well, that is part of the immigration process. So what is that? Before they can, apply for a visa, stop. Thus, minimizing the serious problems that may stem, I like that, from a lack of language comprehension. Okay, now, the last sentence has got a serious flaw, okay? Does taking the IELTS test minimize the problems that you face? No. Taking the test is not, in fact, so thus minimizing the problems. No, it's not taking the test that minimizes the problems. It's learning the language. So you've got improper logic there, and you're not connecting the ideas correctly. Here we go. Have you included a topic sentence, and is it the controlling idea? Right, not knowing the language of the country one might usually gives rise. Usually does. Okay, so usually we put the topic sentence first. Now you might argue that this is your topic sentence, that this was an issue in past. However, language problems can be tackled conveniently with the aid of cutting-edge technology. If so, you've confused, then this whole beginning part is not needed. And that's because that's not your point of view. Your point is that it used to be a problem, but now it's not. So what's this part of the beginning? All right, now, first conditional and second conditional structures. Now, a lot of people think of this as just the if and then. Okay, if it rains tomorrow, I will need to take my umbrella. I will bring my umbrella. Okay, if it rains tomorrow. Now, is it likely to rain tomorrow? Yes, this is the monsoon season. So I use the present tense, if it rains. If I ask that same question in the middle of the Sahara Desert, where there's no rain, it's not likely. So I would say, if it rained, I would bring an umbrella. All right, so we use present and will for likely things, and past and would with unlikely things. So this goes back to the previous paragraph. So this question here, a person would feel like a fish out of water. Now, why are you using would? Okay, because it's because you're trying to use a second conditional structure, an unlikely situation. But that's not the way you present it. You said it usually happens. So here it needs to be a person feels, zero conditional, like a fish out of water. When? Okay? He or she does, when is your, he or she doesn't understand the language spoken around them. Likely situation, present tense. This was an issue in the past, however. Okay, I don't know why I put blue on there. This should be plural. I did this already. Okay, so where are the problems that people face? Okay. You don't mention any problems that people face. Well, you did in the previous one about bank accounts and such, but there's no examples of any of the types of problems that people would face. Okay, body paragraph 2. Another key reason, I like that, that's a good connector, why I think that living in a foreign country does not pose a serious problem. Does not pose serious problems is globalization. What? Although I can see that culture shock and homesickness can be, once again, it's a real situation, can be problematic. These are generally for an initial period of time. No, we can't use initial with time period. For generally for a brief period of time. And advancements in technology with multiple social media applications. What? Although I concede, these are generally for an initial and brief period of time. Period. Stop. Okay, that's a good thought. Just stop there. It's shrink, shrank, shrunk. I believe shrunken is not a word. Shrunken is an adjective. The world into a small village. It's so cliche. The global village into a small village. It is not. It is not. It is not. It is still a very big place. Meaning distance does not matter anymore. It sure does. And contacting, you don't need with there, friends and family back in the home country, is considerably effortless. Well, those two words don't go together. Something is effortless or it isn't. It can't be considerably effortless. Okay, it's not that type of adjective that can have different degrees. It's effortless or it isn't effortless. That's a pretty big statement. There's definitely a difference. You know, I live in a foreign country. Contacting my friends and family back home is 13 and a half hours difference. It's not quite, anyway. All right, so now, do you back this idea up? You just state it, but don't give us any examples. Instead, you go on to the next idea. Moreover, most people follow international customs more than they do their own, even in their own country. What? Which has resulted in a homogenization of cultures. Well, what does that have to do with serious social problems? It's not really, okay. So you don't connect it back to the question at hand. People living abroad, therefore, aren't really facing a different culture. You could say it like that. But instead, you make more statements like, can easily access the food. No, I can't get a good hamburger in Mandalay. Not always, yeah? No. Can always access the food? Easily access, no. And stuff. Do not use the word stuff. Far too informal. They would otherwise have in their homeland. In addition to this, you've now presented two ideas, okay? And so now, in addition to this, what is this? Settling in a foreign country has become considerably effortless, and now we have considerably common. No, considerably does not collocate with many words. It doesn't collocate with common these days. As a result, people from different countries have made communities in comprising of people. No, that's not the correct use of comprising. It's comprising the people they wish to live with, and thus making socialization far more enjoyable. Okay, is that what the question is about? Socialization, is it enjoyable? All right, is there a topic sentence here? And this, you never define globalization. There is a topic sentence, but it doesn't really control the rest of the paragraph. And the one that begins with "although I concede," that's your 57-word sentence, and it's convoluted and confusing. And you've included 3 main ideas in this paragraph. Okay? It's culture shock is short-lived. Okay? People already live in a homogenized culture, and there are people from their homeland there. So you got 3 ideas. This is not a good idea to try to put 3 ideas into a single paragraph. You'll end up not supporting any of them. Okay, in the conclusion. Okay, now, not only does advancements is plural, so you need do. Advancements in technology enable people to learn the foreign languages. Don't use the before a plural noun in general. Learn foreign languages and live a comfortable life abroad. But also, globalization tends to aid people in their settlement. Okay. Therefore, I do not agree with the You don't agree with the challenges. Now, you never addressed serious challenges. These are serious problems. And what about the practical problems? That was not mentioned at all. So have you addressed all parts of the question? No, you could say that you haven't addressed any parts of the question. Now, you use this not only but also construction, which is not required to be in every essay. It is not. Is it a good structure to show that you can master and that you know how to use? Yes, it is. But don't force it into some place where it doesn't belong. And it needs to exhibit parallelism. Or the subjects of the 2 halves of this construction need to be the same or very similar. Okay? Not only has advancements in technology allowed people to live a comfortable life abroad, advancements has also allowed for the faster spreading of different types of food. Okay? So the subject here, the first one, is advancements in technology. But also, you can't have a different subject there. You can't say, not only do cattle produce 25 gallons of milk per day, but also the moon goes around the sun once every 28 days. These are completely different ideas, as is we have here. So what was it you were being asked to agree or disagree with? Does living in a foreign country having to speak a foreign language cause serious social problems? Okay? You haven't addressed that. Have you addressed practical problems? You did in the introduction, but that was it. So you're not gonna do well on the old task response category. It could be as low as a 5. Actually, I'm going to stop there. I don't give band scores. Okay, now I have to assemble and put these 2 parts together. You have some language tools, okay, but don't answer the question that's being asked. Don't answer the question you want to answer. you won't get a good score.